Hello and welcome to another video from the Introduction to Machine Learning lecture series. In this video, we are going to discuss the what linear models are and the different types of it and how it can be used for regression and classification. Okay. So linear models. Linear models make a prediction using a linear function of the input features. They can help you understand and predict the behavior of complex systems or analyze experimental, financial, and biological data. Linear models are a class of models that are widely used in practice today, right? Linear models for regression. For regression, the general prediction formula for a linear model looks like y equals to w0 multiplied by x0 plus w1 multiplied by x1, and that continues to the number of features. For example, in this case, we have q number of features, input features. So therefore, wq into xq plus b. So here x0 to xq denotes features. So as I said, in this case, the number of features is q of a single data point. W and b are parameters of the model that are learned, and y is the prediction the model makes. Okay. So for a data set with a single feature, that is, you'll have just x0. So our formula changes to y equals to w0 multiplied by x0 plus b, which you might remember from high school mathematics as the equation for a line. Okay, here w0 is the slope and b is the y offset. For more features, w contains the slopes along its feature axis. You can think of the predicted response as being a weighted sum of the input features given by the entries of w. Linear models for regression can be characterized as regression models for which the prediction is a line for a single feature, plane when using two features, or a hyperplane in higher dimensions. So we are going to discuss three kinds of linear regression models. So they are one is linear regression, or also called as ordinary least squares. Then we have ridge regression, and we have lasso regression. Okay, so we'll discuss these three models in the next video. Now, linear models for classification. Linear models are also extensively used for classification, and the two most important or common linear classification algorithms are logistic regression and support vector machines, right? It is important to note that logistic regression is a classification algorithm and not a regression algorithm, and it should not be confused with linear regression. So now let us look at a comparative study of KNN and linear models. So if you compare the predictions made by the straight line with those made by the k-neighbors regressor, using a straight line to make predictions looks like all the fine details of the data are lost. It is a strong assumption that our target y is a linear combination of the features. But looking at one-dimensional data gives us a skewed perspective. For high-dimension dataset, which means basically dataset with multiple features, input features, linear models can be very powerful. In particular, if you have more features than training data points, any target y can be perfectly modeled on the training set as a linear function. In KNN, what we do is we label our data based on the nearest neighbors, right? So basically what happens is in KNN, the model remembers everything. Okay, there is no learning involved. It just memorizes everything and then labels the data based on the how near it is to the frequency of the trained data points, right? But in case of linear model, there is something called as a regression line, and there are errors. So in the process, we can for like one-dimensional data, that is a data set having just a single column of input features. So what happens is you can lose out on a lot of detailing of the data, okay, because there are errors. Okay, so but when we consider a high dimensional data set, so what happens is it averages out and we get a much more better performing model compared to KNN, right? So this is how linear models is advantageous compared to KNN when we are talking about high dimensional data sets. So the strengths of linear models are it is fast to train, fast to predict, they scale to very large data set, and also work well with sparse data. That is, when you have like a shortage of data. Okay, when the data collected is not very high, then also linear models tend to work decently. Okay. Weaknesses: performs poorly when there are non-linear relationships and not flexible enough to capture more complex patterns. Okay, so I think this is it for this is just an introduction to linear models. So we'll be discussing the three models in the next video and do a comparative study between linear regression, ridge regression, and lasso regression. Okay, if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and do subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon to never miss an upload. So thank you so much for sticking by, and I hope to see you guys very soon.